I grew up, thank you very much, by the way, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up and we were 20 minutes early to everything. Always. And if we were not early, we were late and I would get in so much trouble. And so I obsess over that.
Yeah.
And for me to be late, I'm sorry.
No, no worries. You're like a minute late.
4, but it's totally fine. How do you feel?
Oh man, this has been such a brutal flu. It actually turned out it's H1N1. Remember?
What?
Yeah, you remember H1N1, like the swine flu?
Yes.
That's what it
Oh
is.
my God. Are you?
I know it's been so bad. So I still kind of sound a little bit monstrous,
No, you don't sound
but
bad.
yeah,
It
okay.
doesn't sound
Good,
bad.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying that. Till I have a coughing fit. Just
No,
wait for
if you
that.
do, I can totally just edit it out. Are
Okay.
you so is that like a what's the word? Is that a uh where you can, oh my gosh, contagious. That's the word.
It is contagious. Yep, yep. Until you get like a really bad fever, and like I was like delusional, like out of my mind.
It's
It was
amazing.
really weird. Yeah, it was really weird, but it was cool.
Oh, I bet. Are you like a
Mhm.
terrible sick person or are you really good at being
I'm
sick?
the best sick person. It's like I appreciate it because I believe that my body is telling me, okay, you need a break here. So just chill. And I'm fine with that. I mean, I don't have kids and I don't have a partner or like dogs or any kind of animals or anything. I have plants, but they don't need much attention.
Do you sing? Do you sing to the plants?
I talk to them.
That's good.
Yeah.
I've done a
When I
ton
come
of
home, I
deep
I
dives on
touch
that.
them. Yeah, it's incredible.
Uh-huh.
It really is a thing.
It
I
is,
sh
and we people don't give that enough attention
no,
because
I know.
if it affects plants, did you hear the story of the jars of
Yes.
rice? Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I heard it like 2 months ago, so maybe I should be embarrassed because I'm like, did you hear this story? It's epic.
I mean,
It's
I
so
didn't hear
funny.
it that long ago, and it is pretty incredible. I'm mean to myself though. Are you?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a really hard time. Sometimes I have to say, "Shut up." A
Yeah, it's
lot.
not it's not it's not good at all.
No, no.
It's not good at all. I mean, there's science behind it. There's government declassified information. I'm bringing up the government because they want to keep us small, right? So they want us to be dumb. And so it's basically saying you can literally say it and it becomes the thing always.
Yeah,
So if you're thinking small about self, you're going to remain small and dumb and whatever else. But I am.
yeah,
I think it's uh, I I think it's something that will forever be a challenge for us.
yeah, definitely.
And I
Because people
believe,
who don't like people who are too nice to themselves are fucking weird.
and they're probably settled in the fact that they're mediocre.
Right.
Yeah.
But they don't think they're mediocre. They think they're fantastic.
Until someone like you or me steps out of that mediocre lunch line and then they try to get you to come back. It
Right.
exposes their mediocrity. I went on this whole tangent about it and we have a ton to chat about, but I had started this podcast. It used to be very story driven, right? And
Yeah.
that's something that I think people really like. But it also became this heartfelt, almost journal confession of funeral stories that have left these painful, heavy, beautiful marks on me. And then it became, you could see the season that I was in within where the podcast was. And
Okay.
I
Yeah.
just embraced that to be a pretty beautiful thing because in the beginning of, I guess it was probably July or August of 24, it felt so wonky.
Mm.
And I know I want to dive into that with you because you now are in this world that is creative and all of that. But I love the why. So I like asking why first, but in this instance, I want to go back to what. So what in the world, what started you on, well, where did you start? Who are you? Who does number two work for? No, where are you? Where's home? Where's home?
Vancouver, Canada.
Ah, I love Canada. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Can
Where
I
are
be a
you again? You're in Tennessee?
I'm in Kentucky, close enough.
Kentucky.
I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and
Okay.
yeah,
I've never been to Kentucky.
you should. It's very
Yeah.
beautiful. I think it has a bad rep. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is known of Kentucky and Canada? Do share.
Well, I mean, I think just being part of the American South, right? The American South has a bad rep. Yeah. I've been to the South. I've been to many states in the South and I love it. Like it's incredible. I love the States. Like I really, if I travel anywhere, I always want to go to the States. I don't know about right now, but
Right now it's actually very everyone's invigorated overall. Now
it's true.
what you see is what the perception they want you to, right?
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
always pushing the fact that people need to be looking with perspective. But
Yeah.
no, it's actually pretty. I would say there's a little bit of unrest, but overall it's really good. Canada is everyone's so happy for the most part from what I've experienced. But I also learned something when I was in the Uber. I went to Montreal about a year and a half ago. I have a good friend,
Okay.
Kayla Diamond, who is in Montreal, and the Uber driver was talking about the racism with the I don't want to say the way that they refer to themselves, the indigenous or the Native American. I don't know
Yeah.
how they refer to themselves
Indigenous.
indigenous.
Yeah.
They were treated so poorly,
Oh, yeah.
and they were told that he thought that I, being from Kentucky, was this racist asshole, and he was
Oh,
like,
really?
"You were so nice," and I'm like, "Why wouldn't I be?"
Yeah.
So you are from the good old Canada.
I'm from good old Canada. Yeah. Yeah. Vancouver, Canada.
Did you
Yeah.
go to
Well,
Did you go to public school or private?
I went to public school. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know anybody who went to private school.
Do
I
they
don't know
have
if
those
that's,
there?
yeah, we do for sure, but I feel like they're religious schools. Like they're mostly like Catholic schools, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I went to public school. I was a weird kid.
Were you?
Yeah.
I mean, you still are weird, right?
I am still weird. Yeah.
That's good.
For sure. Yeah.
Was school just treacherous for you, or was it?
Oh, it was horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was terrible, but at the same time, like now that I'm older, I can be like, okay, it was terrible, but it was kind of good that I knew who I was. You know what I mean? Like I got made fun of for like being weird, but at least I knew I was weird. You know what I mean? And now that's kind of served me in a lot of ways because it's like there's so many adults around us who don't know who they are and like aren't themselves. And, you know, that's sad. That's like way worse than getting bullied in school, you know, because now I have so much empathy. I'm like the fucking nicest person in the world.
Yes. It's a blessing and a curse there for sure.
Yeah.
Do you feel at this point in life? I know I'm kind of fast forwarding to go backwards again, but do you feel that you are unapologetically self at this point in life?
I like to think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I don't really know how else to be, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
And I'm
yeah.
not asking. I don't think it's inauthentic to have this element of maybe a little uncomfortability about showing one's truest self, and because I think I don't know, it can be scary, right?
Yeah.
But I was just curious because you hit the nail on the head. Some adults have no idea who they are. They really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
They just march in this line. So you went to public school. You were a weirdo. What made you weird? Like, what defined you as weird? Are you self-defining, or is this a little bit of people did it for you and you're self-defining? Or what?
Yeah, I'd say the latter. Yeah. I don't know. I liked weird music. I was like a punk kid, you know, like I looked weird and had, you know, colored hair and dog collars and
That's okay. Yeah, you did the dog collar. You're a weirdo. That's awesome.
But I got the dog collar from PetSmart.
Oh, okay.
Not from like a cool goth store or anything.
That's makes it really cool. That's a cool story. Did you go to, so when you graduated, did you have like a group of weird friends? did you all have, or did you kind of stay to self?
I lived actually with my best friend. She moved in with my family, so I had her. And other than that, I kind of know, like, I mean, I had high school friends, but you know, they were kind of just there because it was high school and you had to like align with people. I mean, this is like 30 years ago.
Wow, I was so that would have been in the. Are you a '90s high schooler? Is that
Yeah.
yeah? So you and
I,
my older brother went to school together. So when you say
okay. Yeah.
30, for just a second, I was like, wow, you look good for being so. But
It was,
it's not. Everyone's 30 years ago is. It's just crazy to think that
yeah,
much time has passed.
I
It
know.
really is. It's wild.
It's really crazy. Yeah.
Scary. Do you
Yeah.
get weirded out about time or not? Or
Oh,
is that not?
fuck. It makes me crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It really makes me crazy. It's
Are
like,
you artistic? Are you very artistic?
I
Okay.
think so. Yeah.
Okay. That's,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of creative people are nuts about time. It's like,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
alarming. It's scary,
Hmm.
right? Especially like now that my siblings have children and I can see they're just such a marker of time, right? Kids, you've got kids, right?
Four,
4 kids. Whoa. Oh my God. Well, that's why
four,
you're so busy.
four boys. Yeah. It's nuts. But
Wow.
I think you're right. It does. It marks time in a different
Yeah.
way
In
than you've seen
such
it
a weird
before.
way. Yeah. Because
Hmm.
if you see yourself, 3 years ago, you look the same. But then it's a kid and you're like, oh my God, this kid is now I'm that much older. Like
Hmm.
it's frightening.
It is very frightening.
Yeah,
Did you go to college or what did you do
I
after
did.
graduating high school?
Well, after graduating, I just kind of dicked around and like worked at coffee shops and stuff. But then I went to school for publishing, graphic design, and creative writing and stuff, and got into marketing. I run a business with my brother now, a marketing business. We do social media marketing, mostly making videos and stuff. But yeah,
You and your
yeah,
brother are close?
yeah, very. Yeah,
Is he older or younger than you?
he's younger.
And what you said siblings earlier, so how many siblings
Yeah,
are there?
there's 3 of us. I've got an older sister and a younger brother.
You are no wonder we connected
Yeah, you're a
because
middle.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Middle
middles are
children,
weird.
we are, and we tend to find each other. Have you ever
Yeah,
noticed that?
yeah,
It's pretty interesting how that works.
yeah. I mean, it's a balancing case. So one, I'm a middle, and two, I'm a Libra. So it's this balancing act constantly with me where like I'm always trying to find the middle ground. I'm always negotiating and I'm the mediator always. So it's like I feel like middle kids, like our brains never stop working. You're always
Never.
trying to, yeah.
Yeah. And also it's interesting you said Libra. Now, not someone that doesn't. I have this thing where I love to learn and I love to hear and I don't necessarily believe or not believe. I just accept and people, right? But
Yeah.
there is something about a Libra and an Aries. They're buddies. They're like bros.
Okay. Are you
So
an Aries?
yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's this platform, and I know whenever it was going, we were talking about it in message about like when this goes away, and we
Yeah.
kind of put our eggs in the basket of TikTok and for a little bit, but um, where was I going with this? Oh, the platform itself, it did so much, right? For us, for you, for
Yeah.
me, but I don't think that's what I was initially going to say. There was something else, but welcome to my brain. This,
Aries, something about Aries, sign,
um,
Libras, middle
oh,
children.
yep. It was about connecting with. I very much am aware of being a dude,
Yeah.
um, uh, having a verified account and not portraying or coming off as someone who's just like sliding into DMs, right? You see what I'm saying? So there's almost this wall, there's almost this, I don't know, because I'm very, I want people to feel loved. I want people to feel acknowledged. So anyway, my point is there's only a few people that I've connected with on TikTok or social that that I stay in touch with. Kayla
Yeah.
Diamond, Canada, who we are buddies. I
Yeah.
felt drawn to communicate with her, and you're another one. I think that's so cool because maybe that's what I was referring to with the Aries and the Libra thing. It's just like,
Yeah.
okay, this person feels safe. Do you feel that with people too? Like, okay, I could talk to this person.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like a really good skill that I have is reading the room. I feel like I'm a really good judge of character. And like when my brother and I are like figuring out, you know, we have meetings and stuff and we're meeting clients. Sometimes I'm like, I fucking hate them. I hate them. Like we can't work with this person. They're terrible. And there's no like real indication of that. Like they didn't say like, you know, I murder people or something. Like I just get a feeling. I'm pretty good with energy. Like not in like a foo-foo kind of way, but like I just feel like I can sense when somebody's cool and when they're not. Like,
it's like the best analogy that I've heard. This is the Telepathy Tapes podcast. Have you heard that?
No, but I just heard about it and it sounds incredible. I know.
It's going to blow your mind. So it's like energy is a real thing. Like our phones, this phone is constantly sending and receiving information, as is. Why would the most complex creature in the universe, us, not be doing the exact same thing? I always attest it to when you walk into a room, you can tell if people feel safe or if you're welcomed or you have that people call it a gut feeling. I like to go as someone who is faith filled and you know, others may not be, but I would consider that a spiritual godly thing, right? That's a blessing, if you will. So it's you can call it fight or flight, whatever, but it's real. It is real. And you can you have to listen to the Telepathy Tapes, but it basically is like people who are nonverbal, non-speaker, autistic, they don't have this voice or this ability to have distraction, right? I mean, there's almost this element of they've been cut out from society as being unintelligent or uncontrollable because of their actions, but their utter brilliance, right? They have this part of their brain that it seems that us speakers have often cut off.
Right.
It's almost like it no longer exists because the world is so material, and they see it differently, and it's become, anyway, you have to check it out, but it is a real thing. And so when you have those meetings with your brother and you get off of those calls, are you just like, when you say fucking hate that person, or I don't like that, the way they made me feel, are you the type of business owner that's like, I'm not engaging in services with them because of that feeling?
Yeah, I try to. It's hard for me to trust my own intuition. I think I trust myself more than a lot of other people do, but I do have a hard time being like, because that seems crazy, right? Like I just got a feeling.
And then
like,
has there been moments where you had a feeling, you go against said feeling, and then 7 months, 8 years down the road, you're like, fuck.
Not even that long. Yeah, just like with clients, that's happened, and they've been the worst client, like just awful. It's happened a couple times, and I'm like, I should have listened to my intuition here. But also, with relationships and you know, like where I'm like, damn it, I knew it right away, and I just ignored it.
Yep.
You know, it happens all the time.
I wonder when we'll fix that. I wonder when we'll stop.
I know. Tomorrow.
Yeah, right. So before we go on, normally I have like a segment that's 3 random facts. Nothing right now at this point in time is prepared. So this is where you're going to just say 3 random, most weird things, facts that you know, just about anything. And I can put you on the spot. It could be the most random thing about you or about Canada or about dog collars at PetSmart or wherever. So did you know that like the random fact for the last episode was, to get your brain going, was AI holograms are in for funerals?
I saw that. I saw your video. Yeah.
And I was like, I was there for it. I thought the idea is kind of pretty epic.
Oof.
But yeah, you don't think, could you imagine? Like you walking up,
can't.
you see them in the casket, you go to sit in the pew, and then the service starts, and then she's like, thank you for coming. Like,
I mean, I see those like AI, you know how they can turn old pictures into videos?
Yes.
I mean, they look kind of shitty and hokey at this point, but it's like somebody's mouth is, you know, it's like Einstein or something. And his mouth is moving and he's talking. And it's like, those weird me out because I think about like what you could do with somebody who's gone. and like you could have a conversation with them.
Mhm.
And that's just really creepy to me. I don't know.
It's very creepy. Some of your stories
Yeah.
are going to they're going to get to and start involving AI at some point, I believe.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's very, very strange. Yeah.
Yeah. Did I delay enough for you to come up with a random fact?
Oh, no, my brain does not work like.
Oh, how does your brain work? What is your brain
I feel like it focuses on, like, if somebody's talking, I'm not one of those people who, when other people are talking, I'm thinking about what I'm going to say.
That's good.
I'm like focusing on what they're saying, and
very present. That's a very good quality. I used to, I think for most it's a learned thing. Some people naturally have it. For me,
Yeah.
it was a learned thing because that means you're a good listener. You're an effective listener. I have not always been that.
I think it's kind of an insecurity thing though, sometimes, where people are like, I don't want there to be any silence, or I have to come up with something smart or something, right? It's not like necessarily that they're an asshole. It's just that, you're trying to get ahead of it.
That's very true, because I remember just a few years ago, I was scared of silence.
Yeah.
And then I started to force myself, because whenever I owned the funeral homes, there'd be, 30-minute drives in between each location. And maybe I would have to travel with a staff or whatever. That meant, I must entertain my coworker, employee. And instead I would just sit. And it became this practice that in time, I think, has helped. But that's a very great quality for you to have. But also, being a middle child, it's very interesting that you're able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the best, I guess.
That's amazing. So you go to coffee shops, and did you become this, like, would that been like I don't know, the only word I could think of is like hippie? Was that a hippie phase in life, or was that like a...
No, I don't think I've ever really been a hippie. What I was doing was I was playing music. I started playing music when I was like a teenager. And then I was working at coffee shops and playing shows and, writing songs and putting out albums and going on tours and stuff. So that's what I was doing for, a good 10 years after high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was really fun.
The grind.
Yeah.
It's awesome and awful and everything all at once. Did you, when you finished the tours, I mean, how you literally for 10 years were on the road, pumping the road?
I mean, not quite. I mean, but playing shows around town and doing music stuff and different bands and stuff.
Was that something, so the death of that, obviously, was that something you grieved, or was that something you were okay to see go?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I had like a drug problem for many years. I was in a pretty major car accident and in 2011, and got pretty addicted to my medication.
Yeah.
And so I was a drug addict for quite a few years. And so that kind of got all tied up in music. And then I had to stop playing music. And then it just kind of drifted away, right? And I kind of forgot. Only until recently I was like, man, there's something about writing music, like, where it's cathartic and it's like almost psychic. You're using a different part of your brain that you would when you're speaking, right? Like if you go back and look at old lyrics and stuff, you're like, oh my God, like, how did I even know that? Like, I didn't even understand this consciously at the time. You know what I mean? But then you're writing these lyrics from this different part of your brain. And like, I don't know, there's something really cool about like being in a room with other adults who maybe, and like quite often, you don't really hang out with on a friend level, but you're with them in a band. They're like family, and you have a different communication with them. Like you're not sitting and talking about your day. You're talking about song structures and what sounds good and whatever. And like, so you're just like in this room with these adults coming up with sounds that sound good together, and then writing very personal lyrics and singing them. And like, it's like therapy, and you don't even really notice it until it's gone. Right. And so, in the last couple of years, I've been like, wow, like that was really a huge part of my like mental health practices was music. And I didn't even know it, right? Because it was just something I had always done. Well, you know this, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I said once that I believe that writing a song, co-writing a song with someone is arguably far more intimate than being sexual with someone,
100%.
because it is giving more than a physical
Yeah.
emotion. It is all of, it's
Yeah.
the all the feels, and
And
it's a
it's so
beautiful thing.
vulnerable,
Hmm. The
right? It's
most, the
the
most.
most. Like,
Hmm.
there's nothing more embarrassing
Hmm.
than presenting a song to somebody. It is horrifying.
Have you ever watched even the most huge artists, when they are in a studio and you see the behind the scenes or whatever on
Yeah.
any video, they never are watching each other in the eyes when they're playing the demo
Yes.
or playing the mix or playing, they're looking down. No one can make eye contact.
No,
From the
it's awful.
producer, engineer, it's interesting.
Yes.
Everyone becomes a little vulnerable fucking child.
Yes.
Like, please like me. Yep. It's kind of beautiful though too. It
It's
just
really
levels
wild.
everybody out.
Yeah,
sure.
I watched that documentary on Netflix. That was like
Avicii.
no, what was that 80s group? They got them all together, like
Oh,
Michael Jackson
Yep.
and We Are the World.
We Are the World.
Yeah. Okay. So it's We Are the World, and it's the behind the scenes. Did you watch that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it was like talking about like zooming in on each artist, and it was like Bob Dylan and like, you know, Michael Jackson, like the most unbelievable artists of all time. And they're terrified in the room with each other singing and like feeling stupid and not, you know, not knowing what to do. And it was just like, whoa, like if these people are feeling like this, like, then of course it makes sense that I feel the way I feel, you know, like it's just so universal.
Bob Dylan was trying to leave, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he was so upset and miserable. People actually were saying for the longest time until the documentary that he was just wasted. He wasn't wasted. He was scared out of his mind. He was so nervous. I don't sound like any of these people. I don't sing good. I'm a terrible artist.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. We are our worst critics, for sure.
Yeah.
So you get off the road, you have, and thank you for sharing that as far as the addiction aspect. I speak very open about mental health awareness, and I think it's important because how dare us not use our platform, our reach for good and connect with people. So thank you for that. Do you have do you have this moment of clarity when you get off the road and you get, I guess, sober, clean? Forgive me if I'm misspeaking, but do you immediately go into self, oh my gosh, what am I trying to say? Self-employment. There we go. What am I trying to? Do you go into, or because you worked at you work graphic design, which I didn't know that part. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like I've literally had like 40 jobs. Like I laid bricks for, you know, like a week or something. I did.
That's amazing.
House painting. Like I've done so many jobs. It's crazy. But no, I didn't. My brother and I started this business when I was 37, and I'm 41 now.
Yeah.
So it's been a few years. But yeah, I mean, started it, I guess, late, which was good. We needed it. Like, I feel like starting things late is great. You have more life experience. You appreciate things more, you know.
Yeah. Do you feel fulfillment where you are in life? And I know that's a very broad question, but with where you are with your job, with that, do you have this sense of like, I'm full?
Yeah. I mean, I think because I am human and we have to work to be grateful. Generally, I think I have to remind myself, oh my God, I work from home. I work with my brother. I have crazy clients. I make videos for a living. Like this, it's crazy. Like this is an insane job. I've worked such terrible jobs, like at warehouses and like picking orders and like, you know, I've had horrible jobs where I would just take breaks in the bathroom to cry. And
what's the worst job you've ever had? That of all of them, what's the one you're like, this sucks? Okay,
I mean, this doesn't sound that bad, but
you can embellish and make it sound fucking horrible.
I won't do that. But it was a job where I was working in a sewing factory, which is boring. and I was picking orders. So I was walking around, pushing a cart. We weren't allowed headphones. We weren't allowed to sit down at all. So it was like hard cement floor. Your feet would ache, and it was so dusty in there. So I would have sinus infections all the time. And I was just picking white boxes off of white shelves. And you can imagine for me, I thrive off of like color and like, music and interacting with other humans and stuff. And this was like a literal mental institution. And my boss was a horrible asshole. And I quit. I told him I had a sinus infection and I quit. And
never came back.
Never went back. It was the best day of my life.
So is that wasn't the last job before going into working for self? What was the last job?
I was working at a marketing agency as a writer. Yeah, I was working as a writer at a marketing agency. Kind of a shit show marketing agency. They had like their HR guy was like selling steroids out of the parking lot, which was really weird. Yeah, and like it was really like, very strange people running it, and they were so sweet, and like they gave me an opportunity, and it literally changed my life and got me into where I am now. But it was very weird, very, very weird working there. The guy I was working with, like the other writer, was a full-on active drug addict, and I knew because I knew, and he would like leave and go into the bathroom like 3 hours and like come back sweating and like picking his face, and then I'd be like trying to work, and it was like, how am I supposed to be taking this seriously? I'm looking out at the HR guy, and he's selling steroids out of the parking lot, and the guy that I'm writing blogs with is, shivering in the corner over here, wrapped in a blanket. Like, shit, what's crazy?
That's amazing. Those are some of the best stories for sure.
Yeah,
that's so fun. Do you go and your brother and who had the idea? Who was like, you know what? Let's do the thing, bro.
He did.
That's
he
awesome.
did, and I was like, I don't think we can do that, because I'm not good at trusting myself, and he was also working in social media, and he was like, we could do this ourselves. Like, why are we giving our time and energy to these companies when we could just literally do it ourselves? And I thought, oh God, that's so difficult, but way less difficult than I thought it would be.
Are you very organized?
Yes.
Oh, I'm horrible. I'm horrible at it. That's one of my, it's one of my, it's the thing that really, it's crippling for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have come up with systems. Like, my brain isn't organized, but like I have to have a to-do list. I have to have it sitting on my screen all the time. I have to be constantly updating it. I have so many reminders in my phone. Like, my brain doesn't work anymore without a reminder. Like, when somebody says, do you want to hang out on Friday or whatever? I'm like, okay, I sent you a calendar invite, because I will forget. Like, my brain doesn't work. And so I have to, without my phone, I would be dead.
So when you're you and your brother start this and you have clients, so obviously we connected because of what you decided to start doing, right?
Right.
What in the hell were you thinking? Were you just chilling, designing some graphic? How did this all happen for you?
Like TikTok stuff?
Yeah. Like, what the first thing where you were like, let's go?
Well, I've always been really fascinated by like true crime and, death, and like I've had some major losses in my life, and that made it extra like, oh my God, what's really happening here, and just big questions and things. And I always have kind of hooked into like weird and creepy stories, and I've told those stories over the years, specifically to my brother, like, because I know he really likes those stories. So I'll tell him the story of like, Ted Bundy or something, and he's very interested. And when I've told them to other people too, they're like, they like to hear these stories that I tell about things, and things that I find so interesting that I research and want to know more about and watch documentaries about and whatever. And so I was like, we were working in social media, and we didn't know anything about TikTok. And we were like, we should probably learn about TikTok, and so we can offer that to clients, right? And And so I was like, okay, I'll take it on and try to figure out TikTok. And then I just started doing whatever, like kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall. Like, okay, I'm doing a little skit about, how horrible it is to date men, or I'm doing, whatever. Like I was doing different things. But then I started telling those stories, weird, dark stories. And those really started to go. Like they really would get a lot of views. And so then I started doing much more of that. And I realized that if you have a hook, like if you start with a hook and then you have like a little introduction line, like I have a hook and then I say, I'm Mel Zee, I do deep dives into death, true crime, blah, blah, blah. I have my little thing that I say every video. And as soon as I started doing that, my followers like tripled and my videos started to get so many views and whatever. And because it was telling people what they're going to get, right? If you keep watching, this is what you're going to get. And people want to know that, right? So I've just been doing that. And like, it's really fun for me because these are things that I want to know more about. And so I dive into them and do a bunch of research and watch a bunch of things and then make these little videos, and they do really well. And I mean, I'm not making money or much money anyway off TikTok, but trying.
Right. What was the first death related video that you did? True crime death.
I think it was serial killers. Oh no, not just serial killers, but death row last meals. Because how crazy. I ask people that all the time, like, if you were on death row, and then immediately they're like, oh God, she's weird. But if you were on death row, what would your last meal be? Because you can have anything. I mean, there are limits, and I didn't really know this, but in America anyway, each state has their own limitations to what you can have. Like you can't have alcohol and you can't have, certain things, but pretty much they'll get you anything you want for your last meal. And like, how wild is that? And then just like the history of that and why they started doing that and how it has to do with like Jesus and the Last Supper and all of that type, like it's just things that you would never think, right? And like just that stuff's just fascinating to me.
What would your last meal be?
Oh man, we have this restaurant in Canada, in BC, in the province of BC, and it's called White Spot, and it's just like shitty burgers, but like and like shitty fries. But I feel like I've been eating it for so long since I was a kid. Like my family will go out for dinner. It's like, where are we going? Why do we even ask that? We're going to White Spot. Of course we are. And I would probably get that, and I would probably get a chocolate cake with ice cream mixed up into like an orphanage slop.
That's amazing. Are you one of the people that otherwise would try to be healthy and conscientious of what you eat? Are you one of those that kind of, I'm not saying that you're like counting calories, but you're not just smashing burgers all the time?
No, God, no. I mean, I'm a vegetarian, which doesn't necessarily mean I eat healthier, but I think I eat pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you realized that the video was kind of a hit and you already like this, because obviously it tracks that you grew up and you said you were weird and so forth, which I think is really awesome that it was recognized, because kids are fucking dumb. I mean, I say that lovingly too. Kids are, we didn't know who we were, but
yeah.
What did you, when you started to do it, did you really, when you leaned into that, enjoy it? Was it something that you're like, hell yeah?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Did it give you stress though, to have that growing and this almost desire to keep growing it and give it attention while having your clients to serve? Like where, there's a lot of questions here, but like, how did you begin to balance time? Like, how does your brother's schedules work with work and this? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I built my account. Like I worked on it for 2 years, posting every day. And then eventually I got to the point where I was like, I'm only going to post one a week. And that's where I am now, is I'm just posting one a week. But now that TikTok is up in the air, it's like, I feel like, is there any news? Do we even know what's happening? I don't think we do yet, right?
Mr. Beast posted that video that I don't know if you saw, where he was standing with an attorney and a contract, and he said, TikTok, we are ready to buy you.
Okay.
a group of investors. So who knows? There's
Yeah.
been a few others that have said that they would. I
Yeah.
don't think, I don't know. I'm putting this out there because then someone can clip this later and say I'm an idiot, but I don't think that it'll go away.
I mean, I'm kind of doubting it at this point too, but for a minute there, it was pretty looking
Did
bad.
has it affected your representation as far as brands and so forth, or
Yes,
has it slowed it down kind of thing? Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. I had just signed with an agency like a couple weeks before the thing went down, and it screwed me on kind of a big possible deal, which sucked. And then also I was like, oh my God, I have put all my eggs in this one basket. I didn't even have an Instagram, or, I was barely posting on YouTube because it's so easy. You just do it all on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I make the videos in TikTok. I post them in there. It's like, I have a following there. Why would I post on Instagram where I have 50 subscribers? And so now I'm like, oh shit, I guess I better start doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm starting to do that. But now, because when you're building your account, the frequency has to be more. So now I'm like, okay, well, I guess I better start making more videos. So I have a huge list. People send me ideas. People, family and friends always give me ideas for videos and things. And so I have a huge, huge list of videos to make. But it's finding the time.
Did you see a huge dip in when stuff started to go down with TikTok? Did you see like a dip in views, dip in interactions, things like that?
Yeah, like up. It went way up.
Interesting.
I gained about 25,000 followers in like 2 weeks.
Mine's opposite.
Really?
Yeah. But it's been, and that was what I was going to ask, because my personal experience was, my identity for the longest time was funeral director, right? It is like you don't retire from the profession, you die. And
Right.
the identity that is a profession or brick and mortar, it can be a very scary thing when you sell, or when you decide, hey, I want to show another part of me, because the Mel that stops doing spooky crime or whatever and says, hey guys, today get ready with me while I go to the fucking car lot. They'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's really what it was for me. And it pulled the rug out, I believe, in a lot of ways. And right, wrong, indifferent, that's what I did. And so
Right.
a lot of people, even yesterday, there was probably 100 comments because I posted a video of me getting into a casket, which was pretty
God, I
badass,
saw it.
by the way.
I saw it.
People were like, oh my God, I haven't seen your videos in over 2 years. It's like
They're following you, but the algorithm's not showing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been really, really challenging there.
Yeah.
Have you struggled with like how do you balance this desire because obviously your growth on social will actually benefit your personal life. And
Right.
how does that not become this worshipped thing?
Man, I'm not even gonna lie. When TikTok was going down, I like lost my mind. I took 2 days off work. I sat in my apartment. I bawled. But it was because, okay, I feel like it was compounded grief in this way where, like, I lost my partner in 2020, and that like almost killed me. And then I started trying to put my life back together. And in doing that, I found TikTok and started making these videos. And it does kind of become part of your identity, right? Like you can say like, oh, it doesn't affect me, 100,000 followers, whatever, no big deal. It does affect you. Like, of course it does. You're a human being, and the dings and the sounds and the likes and all that stuff gets you. And so when TikTok was going to be taken away, it felt like, here's another thing that's being taken away from me, and for no good reason. And just when I'm about to start maybe making a little bit of money or start, whatever, it's getting taken away. And so it felt to me like I went through this like intense grief of like who am I? What am I doing with my life? Like making fucking videos? Like what was so stupid that I'm this upset? But like, it's literally a huge part of my life. It's not only like the videos that I'm making, but like the friends that I've met on TikTok and like the when I first got on TikTok, I was trying to date and it was going terribly. It was a nightmare. It was horrible. And I thought, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then I started getting onto this part of TikTok that was like women that aren't dating and that are choosing to live alone. And I was like, oh my God, like I've been a feminist for like since I was a teenager. How did I not know that this is something that I can do? And then so it's like you're just so influenced and so inspired by all the things that you're seeing. And like, it really is such a different culture. It's not Instagram, right? It's not Facebook. It's very different and is very singular. And so when all of that was going to get taken away and it felt like I had built myself back up from this deep grief with TikTok, silly as that sounds, it really was a huge gut punch, like really big time. And so now I'm kind of like, I feel like I took the time to like sit with it and like cry and be devastated and like face like, identity stuff and all that, right? Like it's a lot. It's crazy. And people were very upset and it makes sense that they were, right?
It does.
And still are. It really does. Yeah.
You said so beautifully what I relate to. My journey similar with the video that was posted of giving a tour to high school seniors of the embalming facility, the care center.
Okay.
And it went viral. And it was literally me talking to a bunch of 18-year-olds, not children, 18-year-olds, in a very casual, not formal, this is a cannula and we, just all, it wasn't that type of, it was just like, hey, this is how we do the thing, bro. That kind of, and it goes nuts. And then right after that, you have all of this massive growth happening with TikTok. My marriage is going away. It's going through the unpacking of that. But then there's this massive growth here. And then there is this bump that you hit. And I'm going to ask you this, but there's a bump that happens where everyone is so excited watching you climb this mountain. And there's a point on that mountain climb where they're like, I don't fucking want Mel up there. And so they're throwing darts, and then you're starting to fall down, and then like what they say, what they think, whatever, and then they're the first to run over and say, oh, are you okay? And they dust you off, kind of thing. So it was just this very just odd thing that was happening. My mind, my mental health was fucked. I was fucked, and I am more honest and open about it now than I've ever been, because we have to portray ourselves as together. We've got it. Here I am, the owner of these funeral homes, and I've made this decision to just abruptly sell, and the music is taking off. It's going great from the optic standpoint, but I'm fucking miserable. My marriage is falling apart. I'm growing rapidly on social media. Who the fuck am I?
Yeah.
So I feel you and I hear you. You're like experiencing this growth, and then it's going to get taken away from you. And you're like, what the fuck? Everything else has been taken away from me.
Yeah.
People who consume content don't get it.
No.
Maybe there's probably a large group that I'm not, especially people who are listening are probably sensitive to it and be like, I absolutely can understand. Like I can hear you, but there's a majority to be like, I'll fucking go over there and start scrolling. Right. So that's a very interesting thought and insight there for sure. So what do you do? What were you going to say? Were you going to say something?
Well, it's just such a strange thing. Like it is such a part of your life. And I think part of what's hard about it, the hardest thing for me about it, is how stupid I feel about it. Because
why do we feel stupid?
I think because, it's just, being an influencer is one of the most made fun of. The world. It's so silly and stupid. And, it's like, like you're saying, like, look at this lipstick, and I'm wearing
Yeah.
this lipstick, try it with me and whatever. Like, and it's not necessarily like that. It is very different from that for a lot of people. And content creation is a legit job. Like, I have a friend who's a nurse. She works in the downtown east side, which is one of the roughest, most intense areas in North America. And she has such an important job. And when I complain about my job and I'm like, oh, this video only got, 20,000 views or something. And she's like, yeah, I literally like brought somebody back to life today with Narcan or whatever. And I'm like, oh, we have very different jobs and yours is way more important than mine. But then she said to me, she said, when people like me who have jobs like me come home, we rely on people like you to entertain us and show us content and whatever, right? And I was just like, oh, that's such a great way to think about it, because it is serving a purpose, even though it seems silly and whatever, right? But it's a thing.
We're getting to a point, though, where it's getting less silly. And so I remind myself,
Yeah.
there's nothing that you or I should feel embarrassed about. Having 4 kids and having to go to write on the doctor's paperwork for your children, it's like parents' occupation. That's all.
Right.
For the longest time, I mean, I've done it for like quite a few times, and every time, but this last time, I just did it last week. Actually, papers are right here. And I wrote it, and I didn't feel that like I normally feel. Still a little bit, but it is. It's interesting.
What do you say? What is it that you say?
I say musician, content creator.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously I am a musician and artist. So, but I still put that in there because content creator, it's like, it's still on its own, has a little thing, but nonetheless, I think that human beings are always looking for an opportunity to devalue ourselves.
100%.
And it's unfortunate, but I think, and I love what your friend shared with you and you shared with me, and that we share with everyone listening, is that we rely on people like you to entertain us, uplift us, maybe just provide us just an escape from the lives that we have. And that's pretty awesome. Do you think, are you someone that looks into the future and say, I want this in 3 years? Or are you kind of one that just sits pretty present?
Yeah, no, I'm not a great goal setter.
Really?
No, I'm not. Are you?
I will confidently say yes. I've
Nice.
never not done something I said I was going to do. Okay,
well, there you go. You don't have the organizational thing, but you're a good goal setter.
I'm a great goal setter. I'm horrible at organizing, and I don't, I can create the process. I could literally look at, this is how my brain works. I could look at what you and your brother's company, I keep saying brother. What's your brother's name?
Jeff.
You and Jeff are in your company. I could say, oh, here's a way that you can make processes better. Oh, I know, I can build you a fucking workflow. I can give you the workflow. And if you gave it to me, I would fucking struggle with it. That's the most maniacal thing. I don't get it. It's but I also am gentle with myself, because it's finding your lane.
Absolutely.
You cannot be great at everything. It is impossible. It's impossible.
And you got to figure out your own way to do it. If somebody gave me a roadmap and was like, here's how you're going to do it, I wouldn't do any of it. Right. It has to be the way I've come up with it. And the way I do it is probably real hacky, but it seems to work.
And it works,
well enough.
Do you want this? Like, is this something that you want and you're sitting in and you're like, I'm good where I am? Or is this 5 years from now, if you had to look forward and you're like, this is good? Or are you one of those people that we'll see what tomorrow brings?
Yeah, I feel like I would like to make more money. And I think everybody says that, right? I'd like to make more money because I'd like to have a car that starts every single time. And
I can relate to that. Yeah.
But I'm pretty happy. Yeah. I love my apartment. I love my family and friends. Like if I look at my life objectively, it's insane how incredible it is. Really. It really is. And it's very simple. I don't have extravagant things. I don't, it's like, but it's fantastic. It really is.
Do you love being with self? Are you comfortable with just your own? That's good.
I am now. Yeah. I really had to fight for it. Yeah.
What was that like And these are very personal questions. You can tell me to go
Oh
fly
yeah,
kite,
no,
but
I'm
sitting with
open book.
yourself, it's very scary.
Horrible,
Uh-huh.
terrifying.
Uh-huh.
It's like the silence thing that you talked about, right? Because
Uh-huh.
I remember when my partner died and I had to leave our place that we were living in together and move into where I am now. And I would just remember sitting in the kitchen thinking, okay, this is my life now. And like, it was silent in the apartment. And I had relied so much on family and friends to, entertain me and keep me from having to sit with the horror of the reality of what was happening. And so to actually finally have to sit down and just sit with it was honestly one of the most frightening moments of my whole life. It was insane. But then you get used to it, just like everything else. You could have your limbs cut off and you'd grow to, you'd learn to live without your limbs. We are so adaptable. We can survive anything, shockingly. And so, the silence isn't as loud after a while, and you get used to your daily routine, and then you start to like it a little bit. And like, there's hard moments, but I've lived alone now for the last 4 years, and I love it. It's fantastic. Like, I never want to live with anybody ever again.
Sorry, any dudes. She's taken by her
By
aloneness.
myself. Yes, exactly.
It's
Oh my God.
being alone in the quiet. People who have suffered trauma and that is something I'm very sensitive to. And you losing your partner and the grief that surrounds that, and that still creeps up.
Yeah.
We so badly want to, and are constantly distracting ourselves with the notifications or with streaming Netflix and YouTube over there in the corner and this and that, and so much noise. It literally, there is noise until we put our head on the pillow. And even then there's
scrolling.
There's some scrolling, and it is constantly just keeping us distracted. And the moment I know this this is fact to me, and I would put it up against anyone's brilliance, that the moment that you sit with whatever is breaking you, hurting you, harming you, and you allow nothing to distract you, and you stay in that moment until it dissipates slowly but surely, then you can be freed or healed or become better because of it. I hated being alone. I still have this fear of the dark. A grown ass man scared of the dark. I don't know why.
A lot of people.
Yep. And I would fear being alone so fucking much. And I had, with what happened in my life, and it was like everyone was gone.
Right.
And there was no choice, because if my hands were not tied behind my back, I don't know that the outcome would be the same in the sense of like the growth that I've experienced and the leveling up. But I think there is so much beauty in having no one.
Yeah.
I really do.
Oh yeah, because you start to rely on yourself, right? Like, it's so easy to ask permission from people and ask people's opinions and what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And eventually when you start relying on yourself for those things, it's like you build self-trust. And then that's where like confidence really comes from, right? Like, you really are self-reliant. Yep. And I don't know if anybody's going to choose to do that. It's kind of like you get pushed to do that. And, it sucks, but kind of ends up being a good thing, right?
Right. Do you find that when you're researching what you're going to put out as far as the videos that you do for self, does it put you in a place of heaviness? Like when I watch a lot of documentaries and do a lot of digging on that stuff, I love true crime. I love murder and mayhem. Yeah. I have to be like, okay, I've consumed quite a bit. I need to go and watch puppies kiss and run in circles. Do you have those moments? Like, what do you do?
Oh yeah, for sure. I watch a lot of.
Can you recognize when you're like, oh shit, I've probably put too much of this in?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is it a feeling for you, or is it
yeah?
Do you do your thoughts change to what is it?
I think it's fear. I think it's like I'm like, ooh, like I feel scared to be in my apartment, or I'm like, ooh, I don't want to go for a walk. It's 5 o'clock, that's murder time.
The sun's still shining and Aunt Sue's out, but I'm going to get killed. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I think it's when I start thinking about it too much, I start thinking, oh, everything is risky. Then I'm like, wait a minute. I think I've just been making too many videos or watching too many documentaries or something, right?
Yeah, what's your most what is one that's so intriguing to you that you just keep going back to?
I mean, okay, Ted Bundy is one that gets me all the time.
What about it most?
Just it's such a wild story that people talk about him being handsome, which is such a weird thing to say about somebody so horrible.
They were in love with him, right? Women in the courtroom,
and the media, like just how crazy the whole thing was. But then the fact that he escaped from prison twice gets me. I just can't believe that is possible. And then the latest one that I'm really in on is the Idaho 4. Brian Kohberger. Do you know this one?
Yes.
Yeah. And the trial's coming up in August. And I keep saying, this is trauma brain talking, but I keep saying, God, I hope I'm alive for the trial. I hope I make it to the trial, because I just I want to know what's going to happen with this. Like, I remember when it first happened, I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is a new OJ. Like, everyone's obsessed with this case, and it is really fascinating.
Do you think he did it? Did he do it?
Oh my God, 100%.
Okay. Got it.
How could he not have? If he didn't, that will be the shock of a lifetime.
Sure. And that wasn't me saying I don't believe that, but I do know that they've had so many. It's been very interesting. But you said this is trauma brain saying if I make it. Is that because of your wreck and what had happened? Interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I always think. I've actually made a video recently about it. I was like, this thing, I call it the just before, where it's like, I think often about the people in the World Trade Center just walking around with, sending a fax, chatting with their coworker. And then they have no idea what's coming, right? And then there's a plane. Or the Columbine kids in the library, just chatting and worrying about something stupid. And then they hear the shot. Like, I think about the morning that my partner died and just me making fun of his outfit. And he's dressing up to go do his road test. And that was so funny to me. And having no idea this is the last time I can, and so now I'm brushing my teeth sometimes and I think, oh God, is this the last time I brush my teeth? Because there are last times you brush your teeth and there are last times you hug somebody and whatever, right? And so it is trauma brain. It's definitely a trauma response, but I think about it a lot, and I think I got a lot of so many thousands of people commenting on that video saying, oh my God, I totally understand what you're saying, but a lot of people criticizing me, like, why would you put this out here? And you obviously are sick. And maybe I am, but also I feel like it makes you appreciate things too.
That's what I was going to say. Isn't that a beautiful gift at the same time?
I think it is. It's a gift and it's a curse because I think immediately, God, I hope I am alive. I hope I make it to the trial because I am aware of my own mortality all the time. Right.
Are you scared? Are you scared of it?
Yeah, definitely.
I think time and mortality obviously go hand in hand. And I know that might seem like I'm asking the same question, but yeah, I mean, it is a fear-filled thing for sure.
Yeah. I'm really curious with your profession. I guess you've been in it since you were quite young, right?
14. This June will be 14 years.
So it's a family business.
No, I married into it originally, and I was intrigued by it since I was about 12 years old at my grandfather's visitation. And obviously, I can still smell the room. I still can picture the casket that he was in, and I know that I just wanted to know what was behind every door.
Right.
And there was something about it that was intriguing and captivating.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what does that do for you, your own fear of death or just sense of death? Does it take it away a little bit, or does it make it more intense?
No, I think it makes it at times more intense. I think I find myself pleading in my mind or in prayer and thought, with my relationship with, God for me. And I I beg for a painless death. I barter for old age and no suffering and all of that. I've
Yeah.
seen, what I've seen, I can actually recognize recently I'm experiencing, and I wouldn't acknowledge it. I now know why, because I come from a military family, very proud American servicemen and women. And PTSD is only what servicemen and women experience who have been in combat, who have seen, the aftermath of war, right? That's PTSD, and not seeing, post accident or post suicide or any of, those things that are not what you would call natural. And
Right.
I've accepted the fact that, holy shit, I have some PTSD stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more empathy that I feel toward other people in the profession, because it is absolutely taught in without being so direct about it, to suppress that feeling. You have a
Yeah.
job to do. You take care of that grieving individual, because their grief is very real, and you don't make anything about you. No. So those feelings that you feel, you just push them down, and you don't talk about it, because it's very delicate and private. And small communities, they don't talk about how someone died, even if
Yeah.
they died because of even if cancer took them, or
Right.
something that would be a disease that people would be more comfortable possibly sharing.
Yeah.
We don't talk about suicide. We don't talk about tragic accidents, right?
Right.
So it's all this odd, weird, almost secretive thing that you just have to handle and deal with on your own.
Yeah.
So it's very long-winded, but to tell you, no, it's not at all something that I'm more comfortable with.
Well, yeah, I feel like it's like paramedics and stuff, like first responders, right? Like they suffer with a lot of PTSD.
I get a lot of
And
messages from EMTs, from
okay, really?
paramedics. Yes.
I believe it.
And they are a lot of men, which is, the demographic that it's a lot of female and nurse, but the men are like, dude, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
really struggling, 20-year paramedic here. And I'm so tired of seeing children
Yeah.
succumb to these injuries, or, it's a heavy thing.
Yeah.
But I think there's something about speaking it and getting it out, and not carrying that, I call it a bucket of water, by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know how you do it.
I think it's I think so. Raised Catholic, they're what are called corporal works of mercy, and these are what Catholics define as appointments by God. So it's not something that necessarily one wakes up and says, I want to live a life of, my vocation is being a single woman or man. And that is actually its own corporal work of mercy, is living a life, which is often what you'd see with a nun or a priest, or even someone who's just a layperson. But also, burying of the dead is a corporal work of mercy. It is dying to self. I want to be exposed to grief and sadness and heartache and horror at the
Right.
cost of self. I want to take this loved one's physical body, that though their soul is no longer present, but honor it so beautifully and with such dignity. I will wash him or her. I will make sure their nails are meticulously cleaned if somehow dirt got in between them. I will trim their randomly maybe disheveled eyebrow hair. It is the most beautiful thing, to think about it that way.
Yeah.
And it's very moving, and it's very heavy, and it's very beautiful. And I pray that one day when my job is done here, that maybe just a pat on the back, like not in this world, not this. I mean, in what is to come, and be like, thank you. Like that's my hope. I hope hope I've done okay.
Yeah.
And I obsess over that. And I don't know if you find yourself, maybe as you grow and as people contact you or message you, it's like, I got to get back with them. I want to get back with them. I want to comment to them. Do you have this desire to let them know that they're appreciated or that they're heard? Do you have that feeling?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I get a lot of messages from weirdos too, who like bad weirdos.
Yeah. What's the weirdest message you've ever gotten from male or female? As because you and I both know it's fucking dangerous out there. It's the Wild
Yeah.
West. Yeah. What's the craziest?
I mean, I get a lot of those stupid spam ones that are like, "Hey, beautiful, can I send you $5,000 and be your sugar daddy?" Like I get so many sugar daddy messages, which I think everybody does, but I get messages sometimes from family members, from people that I've done videos about, people like coworkers and or people whose family member has been murdered and they want me to do a video about it, or like I hear from a lot of um, people affected, which is really strange and like wild to me. I try to be respectful. I feel like there's a lot of true crime that's really like, you know, not respectful of victims, right? And I try to be as respectful as possible, knowing that it is entertainment and, you know, but yeah, so I don't know, I get a lot of strange messages, but nothing too crazy.
Have
I don't
you
think.
had the moment where it stings? Have you had some like personal just pushback and noise and she sucks or whatever? Or does that bother you? Does that affect you or no?
Well, you know, I used to get a lot of really nasty messages, like, because I used to make content about how horrible it was to date men. And so I would get a lot of real nasty, nasty messages and people threatening me and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm pretty good at just either responding or ignoring or whatever. And it doesn't really affect me that much. No. Do you get hate messages?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There was a time where 98% of people in the chat wouldn't. There would be nothing negative. And the few that came in, they'd be, killed with kindness out. And
Right.
then there was this moment of around 400,000 where it just kind of, it was a mix. It was like, how dare you? Because the funeral profession is this sacred thing, and you don't talk about what the fuck is behind that door. How dare you? And this is the old school, the guard that's like, this is a holier, more sacred than thou space. And I get it. So during the profession in the 1900s, right? World War II, Korea War, Vietnam, and this, the funeral directors that I transitioned with, right? They transitioned out and I transitioned in. Those individuals buried so many young men, boys, and they used to have wakes at the residence. And then it gets to the point where the mothers of these children are like, we can't fucking do it anymore. And so then they take the visitation and they take every duty and task away from the family and they take it upon themselves at the funeral home. So they took all of the tasks away from them at the thought of helping them, right? So then the thought of, we don't talk about what happens behind that door, is just another burden that they're trying to prevent the family from hearing, because they grew up in the profession that didn't talk about how the 18-year-old young man arrived or the injury sustained out of respect. So in their mind still, I look at it, because I see the world differently than, oh, fuck them. I see it as, hey, they actually are, they think what they're saying to do is for the betterment of people who are grieving. But you and I both know the majority of people, I want to know what's happening back there.
Exactly.
I fucking want to know what that instrument that you talked about earlier, the cannula, I want to know why you use that.
Yes.
It is not disrespectful if you are doing that with love. And that's what I got so much hate from it. And what people don't know about you, they'll make up. And then there's some martyrdom, not martyrdom in the sense, because that's when you're willing to get sacrificed. There was this just sacrifice, right? Of, we will make an example of, and I think most people would have lied down and shut up. And it's just like, sorry, I'm not going to. It was very hard though.
Wow.
I had a really hard time with it. You being able to handle it, kudos. But me, I had this just, probably childhood grief and trauma too. Just want to be needed and wanted, right? So it's just like me, I will dance, I'll do whatever, just like me.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist like it did, but which is a fucking freeing feeling. So it's been, and I think a lot of people are just sad too. People are just sad. They want to be acknowledged too, and they'll do whatever they have to get acknowledgement, right? Like, they're like little 4-year-olds. You pet them on the head and you're like, it's okay, little guy or gal. And then they're like, okay, they heard me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
it's shocking what some people say in comments and things like to other human beings. Like, why would you do that? But yeah, you get people behind a keyboard, right? And
Hmm.
they'll just do and say whatever for, attention or whatever. I don't know. They're bored. They're hate their own lives. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is, but it's
Yeah.
really wild.
What do you do for to unwind besides Frasier? Like, what do you do to to for fun? Like, what's your fun thing?
Um, what's my fun thing? I mean,
Oh
I
no! Oh no!
oh
Mel,
God, what is
you
this?
taking longer than 2 seconds is a sign that you need to.
I work a lot.
Yeah, I can tell.
I work a lot. Yeah. I mean, I love time with my friends and family. I love to go out for dinner, like go out for a drink. Like that's so fun to me. I mean, I don't know. I go to the gym. That's not very fun though. Um, yeah.
So
I
you,
need more fun. I need
yeah.
more fun. I'm going to a wrestling event on Friday,
Is this like when you say wrestling?
Valentine's Day.
Is this like WWE type
It's
stuff
not
or whatever it
WWE.
is?
It's like a local
Those are way better.
oh my God, it's crazy. Like I feel like
Hmm.
it's an intersection of like music and like it's so punk and it's so like musical theater. Like it's comedy and like it's wild. I've just started going in the last like 6 months and I'm a wrestling person now, I guess.
The
It's
documentary,
unique.
there's a show on Netflix about that's in Louisville, Kentucky.
Vince
So there's
McMahon.
that's the documentary about Vince McMahon. There's another show that's about like the up and coming wrestlers
Oh,
who go to this place, which is in Louisville, Kentucky, where they develop their
oh,
character, they develop
oh
their
my God.
shtick. You will love it if you
Oh
like
my
wrestling.
God.
Yes, I forget what it's
What's
called,
it
but
called?
I forget. It's I will find out. Let me find out. Daggum. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my God. I would love
absolutely.
that.
You're
Because
gonna.
that's another thing. I was like, I got so into it. I was like, should I start a podcast about wrestling? Because I want to know how do they come up with their
Yes.
characters? How do they?
Yes.
There's a guy here that his character is Abraham Lincoln. That's it. He just dresses as Abraham Lincoln and that's his character. And I was like, what? Like, what's the psychology behind that? Like, he was sitting thinking of characters and then he thought, Abraham Lincoln, done.
That's amazing.
Like,
Is he tall?
it's
Is he
ridiculous.
tall?
It's very tall.
Okay. So
Yeah, he's like a huge dude. But like, yeah, I'm the whole culture, of it, and it's so strange and cool and funny.
I love that. I would have never known that about you. That's a random fact. There you go. There's one
Yeah,
of your random facts. Wow.
there you go. Yeah,
That's amazing. I'm gonna make sure that I link your TikTok in the description, and it's
yeah.
so cool
And
because
please put my pathetic Instagram too.
absolutely. Yes, I think you got to
Mhm.
start somewhere. I have to remind myself that too. You got to start.
Yeah,
We got to start somewhere, and
yeah,
I think if we are able to just continue to show up,
yes,
that it's going to hit the right people. It is, and because of you showing up, I mean, we were able to connect, and it's really cool that we
yeah.
are.
You're one of the first accounts that I followed
Really,
when I first
wild.
started on TikTok, and I loved I love your account,
Well, thank you.
and yeah. So and it's really cool to actually chat with you.
You as well. I'm very excited and I'm grateful for you. I mean, it sounds like, well, it's not sounding like, it is obvious that someone who has experienced a lot of hardship and moments of despair is able to continue to do good for self and for others. That's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for hanging out with me.
yeah. Thank you.
I was only 4 minutes late. I'm grateful for Mel making time to sit and chat. I could have talked for another 6 hours with Mel. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode of The Mortals. Be sure to follow Mel. I'm going to link all of her information in the description. If you want spooky, if you want historical, if you want weird and fun and join a community of incredible people, be sure to follow Mel on all the socials, linked down there. And of course, become a mortal. I'm going to link it. Mortal Me is the code to use. This is episode 225, and I'm still feeling alive. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you. I assure you, you are loved far more than you could ever know. And I will see you at 226 if you don't trip on the sticks.